thought you were the one for me. That's why I give you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me.
Do you remember how you held me then? Now you got me reaching out. And do you see you got me falling in more times than I can get out? Down in the deep of my mind, I crawl for you and you're always inside. Down in the deep of my mind, how long do I got to keep you, to keep you? Down in the deep of my mind, I crawl for you and you're always inside. Down in the deep of my mind, trying so hard not to keep you, to keep you. How long do I got to keep you, to keep you? Trying so hard not to keep you, to keep you. Oh, you make me wanna talk back to you. Say it like that. If I hate you, then find someone new. Baby, but you know I never will. No, so I choke you down just like a pill.
Never ever find the right words, and there's no way this is real life. There's no telling you're the right girl, so I can only say that it feels right. It feels right, it feels right. Yeah, I can only say that it feels right. It feels right, it feels right. Yeah, I can only say that it feels right. Going with the gut, never had a doubt, felt like this is just a must. Put me in perspective, I'm the deepest in the cut. Everybody tuning in, but this is just for us now. We know I ain't ballin' yet, hoes wanna holler, oh no, I don't call them back. Girl, let me see you hold it down, we gon' have a blast. Cause I just wanna know what you gonna do with all of that. Ain't gotta say a word, I know what's up. You can have it all, watch me rip it off. I'll admit it, you got me feeling hella loved. Even when it's going down, know that we gon' live it up. Young shot caller, always been a baller. Know that you the one, I can feel it in my heart. Yeah, I won't stop charging, we going come harder. I can see you and I, way beyond the stars, girl. I can never ever find the right words, and there's no way this is real life. There's no telling you're the right girl, so I can only say that it feels right. It feels right, it feels right, it feels
take the night in. Welcome, my heart so full, I'm devoting myself to the night. There's no motive, we're just listening, we're existing. We stay when the music plays, the lights drop low and the people sway.
Yeah, we are live. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Well, so, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Ranbhoomi's Day 2's first panel. I have with me uh, three amazing conversationalists about, people who really, really love video games, and some of them who have taken it one step ahead. A, have gone pro in terms of what they play. B, have decided that was not enough and started an organization where other pro players can kind of aggregate and come together. Correct? So, I have right now with me uh, players whom you might know. Zedisburg, for example, plays Dota. I have Mohit. Uh, I have Rushveer and from Global Esports. Correct. So as we begin to speak today about kinds of play that happen, we would it would be very interesting to understand what's the life of a pro player like. What that look for when people play on the pro circuit. Okay, and how important is it for us to be really, really good at gaming in order to make money off it? Okay, so I'll start the ball rolling, and I'll probably start with a simple enough question, guys. Okay, uh, what exactly are you looking for when you start something like this? You know, when you want to go pro, or when you want to start an organization that works with professional players on the gaming circuit, what are you looking for?
Mo, do you want to take this first?
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is a question that, we've been asked a lot of time, and even investors ask us, okay, what it takes to be a player. This is something that we, really have learned because we've been player ourselves. When we started back in the days with Counter-Strike and Dota, we used to play in cyber cafes, and then from that went to play on a local level and then on the, international stages. And we've really seen what are the key attributes that a player needs to progress further in his, competitive circle. So things like whether he has the right attitude, whether he has the right mindset, whether is he, coachable enough, whether he has the right set of, vision and focus to pursue something that he's really focused on. Also, at the end of the day, passion and dedication does matter, but the fact if you're going to show up and actually dedicate that much time to your craft, think of it like a job, right? If you want to be a professional player, you need to commit to it. So we believe that that's the kind of mindset where you can follow a routine and dedicate everything pretty much to that. So those are key elements. And what we really like is people who are not on the top of the rank. A lot of people ask us, okay, what is your secret formula? We're like, it's okay if you're not at the top. Some people who are below 500 rank and below 1000 rank, they are the ones who are really trying their best to reach to the top. So we are focusing more on those people because they have the fire which probably the top 10 wouldn't have. So these are few things that I would say. I'll let Rishi, answer the rest of the question. But yeah.
Yeah, I think primarily to summarize what he said, what we look for is we're not looking to hire superstar athletes, we're looking to create them. We
Okay.
are looking to essentially get that formula where we are building athletes up, where we're picking them up very early on, and really working to grow them, to to harness their talent and to provide them a platform, to give them the opportunity to grow, give them the right kind of coaching, give them the right kind of support, whether it's infrastructure wise, whether it's mentorship, and focus on getting them to where we need them to be. And that's why it's very important to pick the right candidates, to get them very early on. It's like saying, how do you find the next Sachin Tendulkar? You start by going through every single person that wants to get into the space, and you really need to break it down and really need to analyze each and every player, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are. You need to understand the community, you need to understand the game, and only then can you look at picking out the stars and then rather creating them.
Perfect. No, this is interesting. So what we got from you is what you're looking for in global sports, right? Correct. What the kind of players you're trying to look for. Okay. So interesting that you brought up Tendulkar and the word athlete. So on the other side, we do have a pro gaming athlete, right? What do you think makes you?
Well,
I mean, of
back
course,
in
apart
the
from the MMR. Go ahead.
not anymore, but yeah, when we started, we didn't have organizations, great organizations like Global Esports or NGOs of what do you say? It was just like five great players coming and making a team on Skype or something. We didn't even have Discord back then. It was a time when we were very this industry. We didn't even know if this thing existed, especially in India. So we had to build this up from scratch. And the people who had this mindset of we don't mind if it is on or not. It's just that we don't want to come second. So that was our mindset. So we always wanted to win, and we can't stand when someone else called themselves the best team. So that was something that drove us, and eventually esports, as you know how it paved its way in India. I think it's still just a fresh start. I would say there's a lot of new things we are going to explore. I think in 2021 especially.
Oh, true, absolutely. Okay, guys, so let's take it a little bit on the other side of it, right? So fantastic, what you've told me is that correct, that it's going to pick up, and yeah, in India
Yeah.
we've been talking about this for a while, correct, but globally the last decade has seen esports kind of boom, fantastic, correct. So yeah, so India's prospects, where do you think it's likely to change? I mean, why do you think it's going to boom that quickly?
So
Uh,
more importantly, because this trend. Oh, sorry, Zadizok,
no,
you can
go
go
ahead,
ahead
go
and.
ahead, go ahead, please go ahead. Yes.
So what I feel the industry is going towards, and why more and more people are picking it up, is one, because of mobile gaming has become a lot more accessible. Even PC gaming now, there's a lot more exposure. Obviously, everyone knows this year, with so many people being locked down and being at home, the pandemic has ensured that so many more people have got access to gaming. Because now, with people sitting at home, students especially, their responsibilities, their time commitment was a lot less than what they would have if they were attending schools and colleges and being outdoors. This gave them an outlet to bring back the social and social distancing. Where I know so many friends of mine who have never played a game before, that came online and started playing games, more casual games, probably like Among Us or Fall Guys, or even as something as simple as House Party, just so that they could kind of socialize with each other. Now, what that does is, once you get into the habit of playing a game, we are playing today. 10 years later, 20 years later, when we have children, we will play with them, and they become gamers. We kind of push that entire generation forward. We are the generation that's grown up playing video games. The generation after that will do that as well. Our past generation, they grew up playing cricket, they grew up playing football. So that's because that's the sport that they watch. We watch esports and we play video games. So that's what our future generations are going to end up doing. So this is only going to get bigger and bigger. It's not going to be an if, it's a when. It's an eventuality. It's going to become,
Absolutely.
literally to a crazy point.
No,
It's not even started yet.
no, you're absolutely right, Vish. I get that. Yes, it is an eventuality. We are going to get there. It's just that, with India, things have been a little difficult on this path, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Correct. Perfect. Mohit, anything you would like to add, boss?
So I would say, the key factors that it's going to grow is because globally, anyway, esports is growing at a rate that we can't even imagine, right? Plus,
True.
what has happened, PUBG has brought in that entire wave to India and has showcased it. So a lot of education that needs to be done, that people now know that there are so many opportunities that you can actually pursue and approach it as a career on any other path that you would want to take. Earlier that didn't exist. Now if say four random people decide they want to make a squad, they can take part in the biggest of tournaments. What that has done, the exposure has created much more tournaments, much more opportunities on a smaller level, on a bigger level, so people can actually focus and take part in something, whether it's competitive side or they want to create some content. Now slowly there's that market evolving. So we always have the discussion that esports is where hip hop was 10 years back. No one knew where it would be, but now it's suddenly like the mainstream thing, right? So pretty much we have to do things on a smaller level and on a bigger level, and work with the community to grow it so that everyone understands what the things are, okay, that you can do. Education, like I said, plus the challenges that we face, because the main thing that we had earlier and also that we face on a daily basis is that parents cannot imagine their kids playing video games full time and earning a living out of it. So how do you address that? How do you showcase them that this is a future that can be lucrative enough for your kid to invest all of his time, which could be as fruitful as probably doing any other thing in your life. It doesn't have to be if this or that. If he loves doing playing video games, if he loves doing this and being a part of the industry, then why not? That's the lookout. So it should be an opportunity, and I think that is something that has created this thirst. And because of those things, it's only going to grow, because now, like Rishi was saying, it's the wave, right? We grew up playing video games, and now the generation is just going to increase, and then the next one and the next one. And honestly, the whole pandemic put things into perspective for everyone, right? Because I think till last year everyone used to ask us, "Okay, is esports even a sport?" And we're like, in 2020 that was the only sport for the longest time. So so yeah, I
Yeah,
think that's why I feel it's definitely going to be a thing for the future.
correct, correct. Fantastic points, boss, both of you. Zed, what do you think, boss?
Uh, well, I'm not that big of an expert on all these things, but uh, there's one small pattern that everyone has to, look into. In
Okay.
every country, nobody just say like esports is something. There's always a pattern. Like in Philippines, how it all started. Even Philippines was as backward as India back in 2012 or 15. Nobody even knew what esports was back there. No, but what happened is something when their players they started to perform on an international level when they were given an opportunity. That's where it all started. Now Philippines is one of the key countries where esport is growing, just like India. So we are also experiencing that same phase, the same pattern when our teams are performing on FIFA, Free Fire, PUBG Mobile, of course, and the other games as well, Valorant, like Team Velocity is there. So there's multiple things that's going in a good way for India on a very international level. So that shows that we have the talent. Of course, we have so much population. We have a lot of great minds here. All they need is just an exposure, and that we are getting now. So
Okay.
this is something that's evolving, and this is a major reason that why esports is growing. Apart
Okay.
from this, I think multiple factors are also there, but this is the major thing for me as a player.
Okay, so this is very interesting what you're talking about exposure, right? About opportunities and things of those. So all three of you have played at the highest level, right? You have survived where it takes. Correct. So what do you think's different now? Correct. Now, I mean, you're not actively playing, of course. You have moved on since then, but you're enabling other people reach that level. Correct. So in terms of mentorship, in terms of encouragement, in terms of exposure, and also global gaming becoming such a democratic thing, right? You can watch the biggest pro players play online. You can analyze their play frame by frame, decision by decision. Things are opening up on that line. What do you think is changing there, guys? Zed, do you want to
So
answer that?
oh yeah, sorry. I usually jump the gun on this. Zed, please go ahead this time.
Please,
No
please,
worries,
please take it. I want to be the last one to answer.
Okay,
Perfect.
so
Go ahead.
I think in this particular case, esports being so new gives the opportunity for people to come in and do a lot of innovation. We have seen, for example, 5 years ago there were barely any, barely any software and tech that would help. But now a lot of people can just log in with their Steam ID, their Battle.net ID, their PUBG Mobile ID. It'll spit out the entire analytics. We get to see their KD. We'll get to see their performance in game. There are so many tools coming up, like how we have for sports. A lot of people are drawing inspiration from sports, and there's so much tech innovation happening that is enabling and making the entire process so much easier. That's helping us, tools that will assist us. Earlier when we started off, I mean, we had no resources online. Now you can even go on YouTube and see there are tutorials, there are guides on every single thing that you need. there's so many resources and accessibility to these have become so much easier. It is easier now, but that also means that there's more competition now. Because
Absolutely.
now millions of people have access to all those resources. You're not the only one. So you need to work a lot harder. Where probably in Counter-Strike, if when we are playing 1.6, if we learned how to do something, we were probably among the few people that knew it, and the people that we told or the people that saw us do it in a tournament would also be able to do it. But now, when Shroud does something, 20 million people watch it. So now 20 million people know about it, and they can also. So it's made it a lot more accessible, but that also means it's a lot more competitive.
Okay. Uh, Mohit, you want to add something to what Rishi said?
Yeah, I think, a lot has changed since, when we used to play back in the days, on a professional level. Exposure being, to exposure to the whole ecosystem had changed the things, a lot of things. You wouldn't imagine having professional coaches like you would in any other, sport, teaching you things, breaking down your play. Now also, most of the games have this entire replay system. So how, after a football match or after a basketball match, you sit with the team, you discuss strategies, and you point out why exactly, what went wrong and what you should focus on. I think those are a few little things which have really helped, push the thing in a more serious way, because a lot of the things when you would sit and talk about it back in the days, it used to feel like, hey guys, तुम लोग क्या बैठ के खाली games के बारे में बात कर रहे हो? But it was not that, right? It was always coming up with the next strategy to defeat the opponents. Also, I feel a lot of games have created um, a lot of user friendly things where they can practice your aim, practice your things, and basically make in game tutorials of sorts which will help you advance to the thing. So I think from the publishers and also that is pushed a lot, which in turn has created a lot of opportunities where content creators have utilized those individual engines or tutorials or whatever help platforms that they've developed to create much more content. So yes, having more accessibility to resources is great, but also learning that there are so many now job profiles created which didn't exist at all, right? I mean, I would love to coach a team back in the days where you're just coming up with a plan, because we didn't have that back then. And I think those little things are the key turning points, because you can teach a player how to play good, but can you teach him to keep his mental state good after losing 5 rounds continuously? So I think those are some, things that really in the pressure situations help you stay calm and focus. And if you're in a bad spot, you can turn those things around a lot. So I think there's a lot of things that have developed which are not just on the playing side, but people have started to understand that it's all about keeping your health, fitness really good, keeping your mental state right, and having that connect with your teammates, because that's something that we've seen go way beyond. You can probably perform individually in 2-3 rounds or in 2-3 games, but as a team, if you have that coordination, if you have that teamwork, that is something that lately I've seen has gone much further than it used to than back in the days.
Absolutely. Okay, no, makes sense. So, Zed, on the same thing, because you're from Hyderabad, and I'm guessing a lot of what you do, because we've spoken about this, you're from Spawn, right?
Yeah,
The iconic place where all Dota 2 players kind of
that's
fought
right.
fought their first battles. So, what Mohit and all were talking about, right, is the classic lemonade break at Spawn, right? I mean, after a game, you buy lemonade, you sit down and talk what really happened. Correct? Buy a samosa or something. Correct? So, what do you think has changed since then?
uh, the whole culture, I would say, has changed. Well, as much as I miss those days, I think the whole culture of playing just for fun, and now nobody wants to play for fun, only fun. They want to play to win as well as for fun. Actually, it's all related. So when I started, my whole career was just play casually. But then when I couldn't take losing to someone, and when I gave my best, that was something I couldn't take anymore. So I wanted to get better at it. But now it's back in those days, it was very difficult for me to even know what I was doing wrong.
Mhm.
But today, there's a lot of data. There's a lot of people willing to help you out. There's a lot of great tutorials, as Rushi said, and there's a lot of great apps where you can actually analyze yourself. But back in those days, it was just like someone, some of your friends, giving an opinion about you. That was the only piece of advice you could get. Nothing else. Well, so that was a whole changing point in Indian, professional system, where people, they started to develop themselves by watching these professional athletes internationally, how they perform, because they are ahead of us. I'm not. It's not a shy thing to accept that international teams are ahead of us because they actually are, and we want to learn from them. So that's where when we got access to these things and we got to adapt to it. Now we are on almost same level, if not even better, at some games. So yeah, that was a changing point altogether.
Correct, absolutely, right. So at least unlike other games, I mean, unlike other traditional sports, if you talk about it, correct, gaming, at least you can address it because a lot of it, the infrastructure is easier, accessible, quicker in a way. Correct. Wouldn't you say that? I mean, you have access to the latest software, the right kind of data.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a whole thing. Back then. These things were not accessible for any of us. So
Okay.
now I think it's more of the key factor in how you improve the player. So
Yeah,
Perfect.
speaking of that software, like exactly like how I was saying, you can have that, discussion with the team. Right now, there are so many softwares where you don't even need to be sitting in the same room. You're watching the same thing at the same time, and literally on the video itself, you're drawing, what are the things you can play it, stop it, make notes, and share it with the team. So in times like this, when social distancing is, really essential, you're still working on all those team ethics and teamwork and all those pointers which would really help you scale, which I think is a game changer.
Correct. Absolutely. Correct. So now, thanks so much for this, because we've now got this nice, I mean, brilliant foundation to kind of start picking conversation off from. Okay. So, guys, tell me a little bit. Okay. What exactly are you trying to do with global esports? And how do you think it's going to change the gaming community in India?
So primarily, our goal is we have teams that compete in tournaments. We are, essentially a traditional esports org. We are picking up players, as we said, going through the entire scouting process of finding the right players, building up these teams in as many titles as possible. Our goal is the ideal number is between 5 to 8 titles because that gives us a broad coverage of mobile, PC, as well as console, and then have these players compete and compete at the highest tier of the tournament available, not just in India but even internationally. So we've done this, and we actually started off doing this in South Korea. We realized that South Korea is where the mecca of esports is, and
Correct.
that's really where everything started. So more than I went to South Korea, we started picking up players. We got our Fortnite and Overwatch players over there. Similarly, we picked up players that no one had ever heard of. We really worked on getting them the right infrastructure, getting them the coaching, and then these players that season. So for 4 months, we were like isolated from the world, working at our boot camp and training facility, just building up these players. And at the end of the season, when they played in the actual tournament, we were the only team in Asia that was undefeated. We went 10-0 that season. So it all went into fruition, and then from there, our team started competing at the highest tier of tournaments in Asia, and these were all kids that no one had ever even heard of. And then Mohit, you can go ahead and tell them the story of Water. this is this is about one
Yeah,
of our
and
players. Yeah.
so one of our players, we saw very early on that his dedication and passion towards the game kind of superseded anyone we've met in the circuit. All we did was provided the right platform, give him the right training, the guidance, make a schedule for him that he follows as a proper routine. Make sure the coach addresses exactly what he needs to help him surpass his own potential. And then that guy literally outperformed in every tournament that he was playing. And we, pretty much got an opportunity to do a player transfer to a international organization. So he was a guy who was living in Jeju Island, which is a small island in South Korea, and that guy got an opportunity to travel to LA for LA Gladiators, and actually that time the boot camp was in Vegas, and we did the entire player transfers, and he got that opportunity. So it became such a dream come true, not just for him, but for 100 other people or 1,000 other people who were thinking in Korea just that I want to be a good player, and we unlocked that opportunity. For that guy, Water, his nickname was Water. Suddenly he was the top player in Korea because he went to NA and he started playing there. He started making guides, tutorials, this that, and he outperformed there. His skill automatically kind of rose to the top. He became pretty much the number one player in that particular category for the role that he was playing. So that other people started making guides on him. And what we realized by this entire exercise would, because we were players, we gave the right nourishment or the right atmosphere for this player to grow. That created so many opportunities for everyone to follow, and that's pretty much what we want to do. When it comes to competitive, because we only feel that it's only when we create these superstars can the industry go beyond what it is right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So this feeds back into what we said earlier. Rather than finding superstars and picking up a rank one player in Korea, we find this kid who we know has the right potential, harness his potential, get the right infrastructure, coaching, build him up to the point that he can then get transferred and play in the Overwatch League under the Los Angeles Gladiators. And suddenly, a kid from an island in South Korea who no one had even heard of is playing on the grand stage at the Overwatch League, getting $100,000 salary to do what he's wanted to do his entire life, and he's given hopes and dreams to 100,000 other people in Korea.
Absolutely. That makes complete sense. So now, guys, so all of this, since it makes sense. So Zed, do you want to tell me a little bit about the business behind this, the scouting of the talent, the management of it? Um, how do you then make them marketable? Correct. How does the transfer system kind of work?
I'm so glad
Well,
you directed that to him first.
well, it's very hard to find the right mindset of players. It's especially in India now. I have experienced this myself. When we were the best team in India, and we were playing international qualifier. The international is the biggest prize money tournament. Everyone knows about it. So that was a dream for every Dota player to participate in that tournament. So I think performed the best till date, and no team has ever broken that record. And that team was Entity Esports, of course, and later it was known as Beyond Infinity. Then it changed the name to Entity Esports. So at that time, we experienced something that I've never experienced in my life, because I've never before we were famous internationally. We didn't have this thing, organizations trying to fight for the players. So we were not prepared for this thing. So what happened is there were a lot of organizations fighting for our place. They wanted to, instead of forming their own team, they were trying to poach our players, and stuff like this happened. So that's where I experienced that I was helpless, because I was not prepared for this. But now, after 4 or 5 years of my esports career, now I know what went wrong, how we should start. The first thing is not to form a great number one team. You have to find these same mindset of players that can be part of your team for the longest journey. As long as your team is surviving, you have to make sure not everyone is behind money. So that was the biggest challenge. So now, after Dota's collapse in India, I would say it's collapsed, because right now the scene is dead, pretty much dead, because the other games are outshining this thing. So now this new teams that are evolving, they're also experiencing the same problem. Especially in PUBG Mobile, there's a lot of issues going on internally with the players. Even the great teams like Fnatic, you can say even Element Esports that I was managing, we had a lot of issues. We had issues where players' temperament was not something that we could control, and the only thing we could do is just penalize them, or they're small kids, man. We can't take a stick and be like,
Yeah.
behave. So, so there was a lot of issues. Then we thought of applying this method where we make sure we don't get the best player. We just make the best mindset of players. So we train them in such a way that if you're playing too much, so we have to minimize the number and give them a team bonding sessions and all these things. And eventually it worked out. We had a very sustainable team. We didn't make a lot of changes to this team, and but then PUBG man, so it all
Of course.
collapsed. So
PUBG.
now, yeah, you also asked me about the players. How you can sell a player to anyone. Uh, when the player is of this, this mindset where he's not just good at game, he's also good at content creation. Because you can see today, all of these PUBG stars, Free Fire stars, they have one thing in common. They have their huge career, as well as they are also made a social media platform account where they can showcase their gameplay. These things not everyone used to do before. Now almost 90% of these players are doing, so they're pretty much sellable to anything. You can just make any content in marketing wise, or any sort of things. So yeah, that's what's.
Perfect. No, makes absolute sense. Thank you. So basically, so it's not very different, right? So esports players are now transferred just like Premier League players. I mean, football players. Correct. So
Absolutely, yeah.
makes a lot of sense. Rush, why don't you go ahead and tell me, boss, your side of
Sorry, which question? I would like for you to repeat the question.
it. Correct. So Yeah, so of course, right. So you're grooming stars, you're taking
Right.
players, and you're not working with, as Zed said, you're not working with players as much as mindsets now. Correct? How
Right.
you're getting them to think about all this. Correct. So how do you then groom them to not just be the best at what they're playing, correct, but
Right.
also to be able to handle that kind of pressure, of course, right? And be prepared, because at some point, none of those places are permanent, right? Correct, and then
Absolutely. Yeah.
the next big loss is just a turn away. And how do you
Right.
prepare?
So that's what it goes down to what Mohit said. We're looking for the right mindset, the right attitude of people. They need to be coachable because at the end of the day, I mean, a lot of people might disagree when I make a statement like this, but when you think about it, what makes Virat Kohli is not the fact that he's just great at the game. It's an overall package. He's a personality when he talks, when he gives an interview, when he does a brand endorsement. He is someone that people can look up to. He is an aspirational figure that every cricket fan wants to look up to. But Sachin Tendulkar did, right? It's not just about the game, it's who they are outside of the game as well. What they do in game is just one aspect of it. Most people put all their eggs in one basket and they put all their efforts in just being the best player that they can be. But outside of that, they're not very comfortable taking a single interview. They don't want to live stream. They don't have any social media presence. A lot of players, no one even knows how they look. So they just end up becoming a name on a screen that people cheer for, but that's about it. When the tournament is done, they are forgotten. They moved on. That really doesn't become something that can scale, something that can be monetized. You need to treat each and every individual player as an independent brand. Like a Sachin Tendulkar or a Virat Kohli today is a brand. It's not an individual. That's what orgs come in and do. That's what an org should come in and do, is start building up each esports athlete as a brand, as an independent brand, and not just as ke tu player hai tu khel.
True. I mean, not make it unidimensional. Absolutely. Yeah. So,
Absolutely.
Mohit, anything you would like to add, boss?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just build on this point because I think you covered mostly pretty much everything in it. The thing is, we want the ecosystem of esports to grow. So to grow that, we need not one superstar but many superstars. So just like in football, people talk about like 10 people, 30 people. They have like favorites pretty much all across the team. Even in cricket, you're not talking only about Virat. You're talking about like more professional players, whether it's a batsman or it's a bowler or someone who's just even the wicket keeper, right? But the thing is, it's when you've reached that level of competitive play along with every other activity that you've done, which is providing a little bit more benefit to the industry, and it's making that grow. Only then will the entire ecosystem go towards the top. Because why will anyone talk about esports if there are not too many people like from a player's perspective in it who are doing, like making a good living out of it, getting enough money to sustain or probably live, a comfortable life, and are playing on, say, an X level and also creating that content and making and having that right share of voice. Because at the end, you need to treat of this like any other industry, right? You can win at the best tournament possible, but if you're not contributing enough to grow the community or to probably grow talent or share your experiences and give that little help around, then it's just pretty much like you're just fighting for that best of the best. And that's not something that we want to do. We, yes, of course, we want to take part in the tournaments, but it's only so that we can set a benchmark so that we can have 10 other people or 20 other teams tomorrow fight for that title. That should be the thing, because we are trying to create an opportunity here. It's not just about being a player and taking part in the tournament. The industry has grown much further. Also, what happens is, because these players are becoming superstars and teams are having that, there's so much work that is happening which people don't talk about. People think, yeah, theek hai, 5 people are going to play at the international, for example, but they don't know the manager that is there. They don't know the logistics that someone is figuring out. They don't know who's booking the flight tickets, this, that, and the entire planning of that. There's so much job opportunity being created on that end as well. So it's like, if that grows, then everything else also will grow. That's what we feel is will help grow esports in general.
No, perfect. So actually, the idea is fantastic, right? So you democratize esports, have as many contenders for it as possible. The community grows, the sector grows. Correct. The market grows, tournaments grow. Correct. Which will further make even more players aspire for it. It almost becomes
Absolutely.
just like how tennis and football and other pro sports are. Correct. And precisely what we want, right? As many leagues as possible, as many competitions as possible. Perfect. So the brilliant was maybe give it 10 years, we'll have an Olympics of our own, right? And I don't see what's wrong. Why should we go the
Yeah,
conventional?
it's a matter of time.
Yeah, and
You,
brilliant. The
you know
idea is
what's funny about this? This just reminds me of the time when Rishi and me were in school, and we used to love outdoor sports as well. But we used to just sit outside the computer lab and think that everyone is playing outdoor sports. Why can't we play, esports? It was not even called esports that time, for a living and compete in all different tournaments. Because there was nothing that existed, we took part in badminton, basketball, football, you name the sport, we were there. But it's just to create that opportunity that we can do this on not just a school level but on an international level, and that's it. That's okay. It's a sport. It can be a viable career. It can be a recreational activity. It can be something serious that can be taken up full time.
I mean, for us, honestly, if we had the opportunity to play video games representing our school, we would much rather do that than probably play football or play badminton or play basketball or any other sport. We would have much rather played a video game title. Because for us, it was kind of like video game khela hai, maza aa raha hai. We enjoy doing this. We're good at it. We're probably better than a lot of other people in our school. So why not? Yaar? Opportunity mil rahi hai, to kyun nahi?
absolutely makes sense. Suddenly makes you wonder about all those years we actually played traditional sport, right? Could we have done differently? But who knows? Yeah, I mean, it turned out pretty okay. Okay, yeah. I mean, for all of us at least, Zed will say yes.
Yeah.
He had the best of us anyway. So I don't know. Okay, but fantastic, guys. So let's move a little off now, guys, because you were speaking about PUBG Mobile and how it changed things. And
Right.
Fortnite to a large extent did that as well. Okay, so both of those games kind of completely transformed the gaming space, right? So what we call the casual revolution, the freemium kind of taking over, correct? So it's very interesting if you see that after that, most of the pro gaming circuit worldwide has refocused itself towards free-to-play games, correct?
Yeah.
And consciously, even global esports. I mean, the way you guys pick the games, most all of them are free-to-play, correct?
Yep.
So, do you think this is where the future is for esports? I mean, in free-to-play games, everybody can play those games.
Yes and no. Free-to-play games provide accessibility and increase the numbers, and that's really what brands and where the numbers go. So even when you host tournaments, you're going to have a higher viewership and a higher attendance of a game that's free to play. We were in Overwatch for a long time. Overwatch is a paid game. It's $60 for the game.
True.
The access point became so difficult. A lot of people, I mean, $60 is not a lot, but for an average college student to have to spend 3,000 rupees to figure out if or no he or she liked the game is a pretty big entry point. It's a pretty big barrier to get in. So that's why Overwatch really in India, we feel that that's one of the main reasons it didn't do well, is because the publisher made all their profits on selling the game upfront. Now even the publishers have gotten smarter and they're like, okay, let's just do in-game purchases, in-game items. You can do a lot more. So Epic Games did that when they launched when they launched Fortnite. Fortnite did in 2019, it did $3 billion in profit, not in revenue, which is a huge number for a game like Call of Duty. When they release their latest Call of Duty in the opening weekend, because the cost of the game is 70 or $80, in the opening weekend they did $1 billion in sales. So for them, they each publisher works on different models, but really for an esport title, your goal is imagine if every time you have to play cricket, you have to pay for it. Even gully cricket, like you have to pay to play. People wouldn't play gully cricket. The number of people at least playing it wouldn't be as much. So that really takes away that entry barrier when you don't charge people upfront to play the game.
Absolutely, makes sense. Yeah. Mohit, anything you would like to add to that? Lovely gully cricket analogy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that gully cricket is great. So, this freemium model is something that has been going on for long. And what publishers are doing very smartly, they've understood and cracked the formula that, gamers will spend more on skins and on the aesthetics and, other things that contribute to the visual aspect of the game. But you shouldn't charge them to play the game, right? A lot of games have cracked that formula, and we've seen it's worked so well. Speaking of Fortnite, they earned that high amount, but what they did with that, they hosted an esports World Cup pretty much. They put that money back into grow the ecosystem, which I think is a great way to funnel the system back and make the community grow more. So in the first time where Buga won the World Cup and he was a 17-year-old kid, yes, he was the guy who started it all. But the next year, after that event that happened, there were probably 100,000 more kids who wanted to be the next Booga. So I think when a game is focusing, to create such a big opportunity whether it's, Valorant today or, any other mobile game that you think is free to play, it should have that vision that, okay, we are doing this for a purpose. Yes, we will get the revenue out from the XYZ purchases that are there, the, skins or whatever aesthetics that you're going to be selling. But if they want to grow and go further, then yes, definitely free to play is the model. We wouldn't say that some paid games haven't cracked the formula, right? Because yes, we did go with the Overwatch, model. And while we were exploring the local, tournament scene, we also went to the Overwatch World Cup, which was at BlizzCon last year. So we've had that journey also, and we've seen how things, transform differently. But I think if you want to really make sure that more people are getting involved in this ecosystem, you cannot charge them a high price point just to get started, because you're not taking into the consideration that, okay, say if it's a PC game, you have to build the PC also, you have to have a laptop that has decent spec, and on top of that, if you're asking someone to, have a game also, then it's the little costs that add up, right? Ki mouse ka cost, iska headphones ka cost, all of those things. Then the thing to become a professional player or a gamer seems like okay, I'll wait for some time, let it become, let me get XYZ amount in my, account, and then I can probably pursue it. And that is not a hurdle that you would want exactly while playing gully cricket, right? It should be like, okay, you want to become the next most popular guy in gully cricket? Let's take a bat, let's take a ball, go and play right now. That's how accessible it should be. Only then can you have the freedom of thought and actually expressing, okay, let's give it a shot. If nothing, for a month we'll try it. Max to max क्या होएगा? ठीक है, कुछ पैसा तो नहीं खर्च करना होएगा ना. The mentality is that.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially we've seen, because when we were college students, we had pretty much a some like very allotted account, like we had to go to
Pocket money.
cafes, pocket
Yeah.
money, right? We could only spend it at cafes, and when we had, say, even 1,000 rupee price point for a tournament, we would go and play because that was much more money than we ever had in our pocket money. So I think that is the little psychology that we need to crack, where kids are not spending too much for the games that they're playing and to take it as a sport, but they are trying to earn a lot from it and get something in return that they can show a little bit value to their parents, to their peers, and actually build a little, sustenance around everything that they want to do.
Yeah, I think a lot of companies have cracked this microtransaction formula, and it's great because it feeds a lot into human purchase behavior. I know for a fact, for example, if Fortnite was $100 to buy, I would probably never buy it. I can afford it, sure, but I would never spend $100 to test out a game before. But I know now in that free game, I have spent more than $100 on skins. I have purchased skins, and the thing
A
is,
lot
each
more, I would
skin
say,
ends
but
up
yeah.
being it's been a few dollars, maybe $5 or $10, but that are spent over a span of a year. But if the initial upfront cost for the game was 100, even though I can afford it, I probably wouldn't have done that.
Oh, absolutely. So,
Don't you think this will also affect the quality of the game? Because if you see, there's when you're spending a lot of money just to buy the game, this is just my idea. I'm not criticizing
Yeah,
anything. I'm just
sure,
saying, if you're
sure.
spending a lot of money to buy a game, not still 1,500 a game. If you're spending 1,500 to buy a PUBG game or a
Hmm.
premium account on a PUBG, then there'll be a lot of chances that you would rather not try to use a third-party software to just get it banned. So I'm just saying about the hacker part. When you're
Hmm.
trying sports, it's a competitive thing, and there's a lot of hacks in a free to play game because not everybody is that concerned about if your account gets hacked because they paid little nothing for the whole game. So if you pay certain amount, I think there it becomes a point of concern when you're using a third party software or something like that. Just to keep it professional, I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong, but yeah, there should be
Hmm.
some sort of membership or kind of a, premium thing. Like in CS:GO, there's a verification where you have to verify your account with your phone number or something like that, and you can't do it again and again. So if you get banned, you can't create a new account from that mobile number. You have to literally get a new mobile number and register and verify yourself. So these
oh,
are the things that I think would affect competitive wise. Yeah.
no, Zed, this is very interesting. And also considering that all the Dota 2 you played, right? Free to play game to begin with. Correct.
Yes.
So, do you think, yeah, so do you think when players actually pay for the games they play, they are more concerned about saving that development or experience or whatever? Correct. Yeah. So, this is my game. This is my progress. I want
Not
to.
not specifically in India, but Dota 2 is the most spending audience. The biggest proof would be the international, where people spend a lot of money just uh, He's getting skins basically. But I think this year the prize pool is $40 million, and the event is not even planned. There's no dates. Let me just remind you, they didn't even have a date for this event, and they have crowdfunded around. I think for 25% of the prize pool. Sorry, 25% of your purchases goes to the prize pool. So the prize pool is $40 million right now. So you can just imagine 160 million dollars of investment from this crowdfunding. So
Yeah, absolutely. So
people
I
can,
think they cracked the formula right. They did it right with the
yes.
international. That was a brilliant move.
Okay, because the community was so strong. But
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So I really like what's coming out here, right? The kind of conversation that's coming out. Because every time the community grows, the more players willing to come. Okay, so makes things even more interesting. Okay, so let's focus a little bit on actual players part, guys. A lot of people who are actually watching us today, right now on the stream, uh, players who play avidly, they have been taking part over the Ranbhoomi's events over the last 2 3 days. Okay, what do you think, guys, all three of you? What do you think helped you be the players you were? What was it that kind of made you successful at what you did?
I mean, for me personally, it was I never thought of it as a career. I was doing it because I enjoyed doing it. Actually, Mohit's brother introduced us to the LAN cafe culture. The first time that I played Counter-Strike in a cafe, Mohit and I were just 10 years old. We did it for fun. We did it because we wanted to feel included because all the teenagers, all the big kids were sitting and playing and they were way better than us. So we trained extra hard so that we could go up against them, so that we could compete with them, so that we could have our standing. For us, it became a little bit of bragging rights. It became a little bit of ye karke dikhana hai, more that we want to prove it to ourselves. It became a little bit of we wanted to feel included because they would always say ye to bacha party hai, chiller party hai, in log ko nahi lete hai. So we wanted to show that we could play and be better than them, and that kind of just kept snowballing into us learning how to get better. We started figuring out अरे ये करेंगे तो ये होगा, spending more time on it. And as we started focusing, the goal was not to win, the focus was to get better. And as we started getting better, we did start winning as well. That kind of came as a collateral, as opposed to हम ये tournament खेलेंगे, will be the best players. It was more like ठीक है ये अभी कर रहे हैं, how can we get better? That's all that it was for me personally. And Mohit may have something else to add to that.
No, I think definitely it was, it started by the whole competitive nature. I think any sport, if you take, the competition to be the best in your locality or, probably your region or the world is something that gave me that drive. Yes, we weren't selected in any of the teams because, my brother and his entire group was elderly, like a little bit elder to us. That gave us more reason कि boss हम लोग अभी छोटे हैं इनसे, we'll not just show them that we play better than them, but we'll practice so hard that tomorrow if we get an opportunity to go to a tournament, यार हम लोग जीत के भी आएंगे because that is something, a victory that you can show at home, plus that money that you're getting is on your own merit, on your own skill, और वो आपको जिस पे भी खर्च करना है, you can do it. I think that was something that started out where we had our first LAN win and actually defeating the other opponent, and just that competitive spirit that you get whilst facing so many things. I think that chaos that is there in making 100 decisions, talking to your teammates. Also, what it helped was, for me personally, it helped me grow as a friend, as a teammate a lot. Like I think a lot of the things that I've learned in the world of gaming has helped me become a better, person outside of game, whether it's working in any other thing, whether it's working with other people or doing a task which requires 100 people, or just like communication in general, right? I think gamers at the core thrive on that, and how important communication can be at the split second. Those things, honestly, I picked up from gaming, and we've scaled to pretty much a lot of things. Whether it's the kind of content that we make, whether it's talking to brands, whether it's managing like a team of 100 people, that thing can never be replaced by something else. So I think from a player, if you reach to that, and a game has helped you unlock that, then definitely go out and chase it. Because yes, in the start, the passion will drive you. You want to be the best, but you might not realize that there's so many things you might end up learning from it, which you probably wouldn't have thought. So yeah, I mean, your reason to go out there and do it will be different from ours. We obviously were, playing on CRT monitors in a different time, but at the essence, it was also to be around more people and like-minded people like us, connecting with the community and just being in a place where all gamers exist is, I think, the most amazing feeling to be felt by anyone out there. It could be in any industry, right? But if it's for esports, that's where you want to be.
Yeah, and I think we had very, very humble beginnings. हम बहुत नादान बच्चे थे. Our goal to win those tournaments are very simple. हमको कोई अय्याशी नहीं कर रहा था, कुछ नहीं कर रहा था. जैसे ही tournament winnings आते थे, we would straight give it to the cafe owner. Be like, हमारे अगले एक महीने का game please free कर दो. हम लोग free में खेलेंगे अगले एक महीने. That's all. कि घर से pocket money didn't cover our game time. This would cover our game time. हम sorted है. और कुछ नहीं चाहिए.
No,
That was
perfect.
our primary motivation.
No, of course,
Yeah,
humble.
I think हम लोग को खाली वीडियो गेम्स खेलने थे and everything that we did was to help us do more of that in whatever way. चाहे officially prove करना पड़े तो करो, but चाहे ये tournament जीत के खुद का pocket money build करना हो, but it was all to just play more video games. That's pretty much it.
No, perfect. Absolutely. Makes a lot of sense on all levels, right? Perfect. Zed, anything you would like to add, boss?
I have a very different story.
Go ahead, tell us, boss.
So I was actually very good at studies. So I was always, forced to be a very good student. But then I never wanted to, be a kind of a student who just stick to the book. I always found myself, doing something where I get a lot of fame, like I get a lot of, self satisfaction of achievement. So when I first played a LAN event in Bangalore, I remember it was a Hyderabad versus Bangalore Dota 2 tournament. So this was the first team I formed, and somehow I don't know how it. If I remember, we somehow came third in that tournament. And when I look at the list now, all these other teams, they were all legendary players, and somehow we came third, and that was the point of motivation. If I could do this with just a few months of dedication, I can just be the best in the next 3-4 months as well. But I was wrong, of course. It took me a total of 1 year to crack the number one spot. So when I worked my way through this thing, I started to get this feeling that if I work really hard, I can achieve even India's best gamer rank. And when I actually achieved it, that was the day I actually cried on stage because the best team of Dota 2 was also from Hyderabad that time, and we were unable to beat them even in the local events. So it was a kind of a very when you have an elder brother who is stronger than you and you can't wrestle with him, and suddenly one day you outbeat him in the arm wrestling or something, and then you feel that okay, I have achieved something. But then that satisfaction was very less, you can say, for me. It was just like a 1 or 2 day of celebration. Now I was like, what's next? So I wanted to be best in the region. So we started challenging other teams from the other regions, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh. Vietnam was a very big competitor for us that time. So when we started taking over all this region by region, so we were actually facing a lot of and failures, success. So that kept me driving, and that's how I ended up being one of the best players in Dota 2 in India, at least.
Perfect. Okay. So there you go, guys. Three amazing journeys from three amazing players. So before we kind of begin to wind down the discussion, because time always flies when we talk about gaming, right? It's such an amazing thing to talk about.
Always, always. We could go on for hours.
Yeah, it could go on all evening, and then yeah, we would have lives to go back to. But amazing. So, guys, those of you who are watching us, those of you who are part of the audience, if there's questions you want to ask from all three of them, like Rush, Mohit, and Zed, please put them right down in the chat so that Nishan can convey them to us, and let's see how many of your questions can be answered personally right back to you. Right? Okay. So, as you decide what questions to ask, uh, Rush, Mohit, and Zed, let's go 1 or 2 rounds more. Will that be all right?
Sure. I just want to give a shout out. There's someone
Yeah,
in
sure.
chat. Jatana, shout out to you. He's been watching our stream and I think he's asking questions and he's been conversing and engaging in conversation. So just wanted to give him a shout out before we go back into the question.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, Mohit and Zed, do you want to shout out to someone else as well on your side?
I'm not. I don't have access to the chat right now, but yeah, like everyone who's watching, thank you guys for tuning in. And हम लोग और आपके साथ share करना चाहते हैं. So do stay tuned, and I hope the festival is going good and आप लोग enjoy कर रहे हो. There's more such content going to be coming in, so we'd love to share more of our stories.
Perfect.
Well,
Yeah.
shout out to the IIM team, I guess. Man, these people are busy in the books, but somehow they brought time to bring this event off.
Yes. Yeah. Good job to the entire Ranbhoomi team.
No, absolutely right. I mean, with the huge balancing act they're doing, I'm pretty sure they have exams in a week or something. So,
If I'm not wrong, they're doing 13 game titles. If I'm not wrong, that's a
true.
big
Oh
task,
wow.
man.
Yeah, it's been a huge task. I mean, amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to be growing up in a time where, this is what is happening in our college, because I would be taking part in pretty
Absolutely.
much every game and making sure we're there on the top, the leaderboards, and whatever it takes. Like, we should be involved in every way possible. That this is great, and it's such initiatives that will help boost the ecosystem. So kudos to you guys for everything.
Perfect. Yeah, there you go, guys. So, all of us who are watching, the Ranbhoomi team, thank you for having us on stage. And yeah, perfect. There you go. Yeah. So, let's quickly come back to this, boss. So, a lot of these things you have spoken, and especially when Zed talks about his games, right? Dota 2 and all going dead. Once upon a time, StarCraft was also a thing, if you remember it. Correct. So,
Yes. StarCraft
Yeah, a
started it all.
big thing. It
yeah, it is.
started, yeah, yeah.
And before that, we had Age of Empires, which was its own thing, and all of that happening, right? The
Yep.
pro circuit, correct? Early days, long ago. Okay, so yeah, so you see, we are right now at this point, boss, where the landscape changes quickly every year or two.
Yep.
Correct. So we are beginning to see. I mean, there is some amount of dwindling interest in battle royale kind of games now. We're beginning to see that kind of a dip happening. Correct. So how does a firm like you? I mean, now let's focus a little bit on the firm that is Global Esports. Prepare
Sure.
for something like this because new game modes, genres always come in. You need to find the players for the next big game, right? How do you kind of handle something like that?
So it's a combination of a lot of things. I think one of the biggest advantages that we have is everyone that's part of the management team has either is or has been a player before. So the fact that we are actively playing these games, I think a great example is that when Valorant came out, Mohit and I were among the first people in the country to get beta access. And before the game even released, we'd already hosted a Valorant tournament, and we'd started, having players that transitioned over from Counter Strike to Valorant way before the game even released. So just being early to market, understanding the game trends, seeing what's coming up, seeing where the entire direction of the industry is going, being part of the wave that's driving the industry in that direction. So not only did we just get our players on Valorant, we actually gave out beta keys to every other CS pro in India. We're like, why don't you try out this game? And exactly that's what happened. 2 weeks later, 2 months later, a lot of those pros transition from CS:GO to Valorant.
Yeah.
So
So
it
actually,
just knowing the trend, understanding the trend, identifying it, being part of creating that wave, making sure when that wave hits, you're riding right on top of it, becomes a very important aspect of it.
no, this is perfect. So what you're telling, right? So yesterday we had a few other streamers, right, talking to us in the first panel, and they were
Right.
telling us how the Valorant gaming community is a lot of CS:GO community, and that's what's happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
perfect.
in a lot of cases, skills are transferable as long as it's the same genre. For example, a Dota 2 player shifting to Valorant is going to have a lot higher learning curve than probably an Overwatch or a CS player because by genre it's still FPS. Similarly, for a PUBG Mobile player to shift to Free Fire or Call of Duty is a lot easier than a PUBG Mobile player to switch to Dota 2
Absolutely. Yeah,
because
because
there is some sort of interchangeability when it comes to sticking to the same genre as opposed to moving to a completely different title.
perfect makes sense. Absolutely. Mohit, please go ahead, boss.
Yeah, this point that Rishi highlighted I resonated with so much because that's the entire basis of what global esports is, right? Everyone who's been a part, who's a part of our management team or is working on something to build the vision and make it come to life, has been or is also a professional player now. The entire management team, you might not know this, but the first streamer invitational that happened, the entire management team played and we made it to the grand finals, which was insane because we've not been, taking part in tournaments for the longest time. But even now, when we put our forces together, that's something that we can go and do. Not just that, but we took part in many other tournaments where we were still even on an individual level playing, right? So whether it's any new game, whether it's game title that is going to be announced or is around, because we are such hardcore gamers, we are pretty much in the industry and we are in the way because it's like something new and exciting for us. When Valorant was announced, we were also happy because CS:GO was a game that we played when we were like 10 years old, and that's been around and it's been popular. So seeing that fresh game come out which really would change everything, we were the first ones to try. So once you do get involved in the ecosystem, you try it yourself, then you can see that okay, the publisher has this vision and you start to align with the vision of the publisher. That itself unlocks so many conversations that can help you not just grow the community on a community level, but also work with the publisher towards what their goals are. So I think that is something really distinct that I would say, where we are not some bystanders who are just wanting to handle the business side and grow the industry. No, we really love playing video games. This is something that is pretty much our everyday thing. No matter what we're doing, we'll probably take out some time to do some research on what's happening, keep the latest trends and the latest patches and the updates, and always discuss. Maybe we might not end up playing, but we know about the entire ecosystem. And I think that is what really helps us do different things to boost the community. Because then you're not staying in blind for everything, right? You have all the information and then you're just trying out different things. It's okay if something doesn't work out or some sector doesn't grow, but at least you know and you've tested it out.
Oh,
So I think
perfect.
that becomes a very crucial role to everything we're doing at Global Esports.
Oh, perfect. So you're right, right? You're not just players anymore. You're involved, right? Correct. You're involved with how the industry is evolving, morphing in itself. You're seeing things even before they come, which is precisely what's happened, right? So what Shroud is complaining, right? I really, really hope people are done with Cyberpunk in a month and come back to multiplayer. Correct. So absolutely, you're right. Fantastic, boy. Okay, Zed, anything you would like to add, boss?
Man, I don't own a firm like Global Esport, but yeah, I'm pretty sure what they're doing is, pretty amazing. And I'm very pissed off at Rashid not for not giving me Valorant access.
I'm sorry. I'll make sure whatever else comes out, we'll give you
No,
first.
but Zed, they explained the logic, right? Dota 2, it was going to be a tough call.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you are good at any game, so it's as long as you are dedicated to it, you can just
Yeah.
transform because absolutely it's just a mindset. If you are a good gamer, you can be a good chess player, you can be a good Dota
Yeah.
player, you can be a good CS player.
Absolutely. So in the heart, it's still strategy, right? So not
Yep.
very different from chess. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, guys. So let's have Nishan over to see what the audience wants to ask, guys. So let's see what the questions are. Nishan, please fire away.
Sure. Hi, guys. I'll now read out questions which have been asked by the audience members and some questions which I have of my own. So the first question I'll take, this was asked by Anish. So he asks, what are your views on esports as a business venture for young students who want to become managers someday? And adding to that, there's a bonus question: when is PUBG coming back?
So I'll answer the second question first. When is PUBG coming back? We don't know. No one knows yet. Even the publishers themselves don't know. They're working to comply with the government and ensure that they have everything in place before they release it. They don't want to release it and then have to deal with any government entities and have to have issues later. They don't want any chances of it being banned again. So they're going to take their time and ensure that all the compliances are met with, that all the data security, all the doubts that were there are complied with. That could be a week, it could be a month, it could be longer. We don't know. Even the publishers are figuring it out, but it is coming back. It's again going back to what I said. It's not an if, it's a when. It is coming back. We don't know when though.
Yep. And being esports manager, I think best way is I think you should look up to the already existing managers and how they do their work. Like one of them was supposed to join us today, like Sid Joshi,
Yep.
and there's Aurum, and there's a lot of other great managers out there. You should just have a look at the social media, what they do, or have a conversation with them. These guys are absolutely available on every social media. If you message on Insta, Facebook, they respond, and they're very happy to give you their insights and how to reach to this organization and what you need to portray and what you need to know. You can't just be like I want to be something and go and seek for an opportunity. You have to do some homework. You need to know what you're looking for. If you're good at esports, you have the knowledge of esports. You know what a player needs from a manager. It's not always just a brand. You sometimes also need. Oh, sorry, I think I lost my light. Okay,
Come back,
so
boss.
it's getting dark, man. So yeah, as I was saying, you need to know what the players need from you. They sometimes need you as a brother. They sometimes need you as a friend. They need you as a, guidance. Sometimes you need to
Yep.
advise them in the right way. So all these things comply to become a good manager. And not everyone is perfect. Absolutely. Even I was a manager. I made few mistakes, but I didn't make a lot of mistakes. I made great teams. I'm working for a very great organization called TechnoExo, and I'm still learning. And every day I learn something new. So that's you need to have that mindset. You can't be like I'm the best always. So that I think that's pretty much it. from my side for that.
So I think adding on to that, it's Sid and all these guys are available on social media, as he mentioned. But instead of just messaging him and saying, I want to be a manager in esports, make opportunity de do, yeah, give me a job. I would say if you are a student, you are in college, go to any local cafe, go in your college itself, find an existing team, work, help them out, kind of do it as an internship or do it as a project. Tell them I'll manage you guys for free. Start setting their scrims, start seeing their schedules, see what problems they have, try to find them yourselves. When you don't find a solution, then reach out, probably message Sid, message or message any of us, then drop a message that this is what I've already tried, this is the problem that I have, what do you recommend that we do, would love your advice. I promise you they will all reply. Not a single person would not reply. But if you just message and say give us an opportunity, we don't know how. We don't know where to start, because we don't know where you're at. We don't know what problems you have, where we can help you. If you have a very specific problem that you've encountered, you can easily say that मैंने ये already try कर लिया है, अभी और क्या कर सकता हूँ. That will help you learn a lot more than just asking for help.
And I think, when you're really young, every opportunity that comes in your head or any idea that you think of, firstly, you'll think, hey, yaar, iska business kaise banane ka hai? I think before even get to, that thought कि ठीक है इसका business कुछ कर सकते हैं, first get all the information on it, what exactly is required to do the task that is there associated, say, with X, a manager or a player or any of the things that are interesting to you in the esports, esports ecosystem. After that, you need to think, okay, ठीक है, these are the things, this is what I can do, this is what I can, this is who I can learn from, or these are the things required, and then probably you can, after having all of those information or that research complete, can you totally think of, okay, ठीक है, this is what we've learned, by this exercise, and probably इसमें से एक छोटा कुछ business opportunity निकल सकता है. That's the approach I think you would say. Focus your time as a student to learn a lot, because that's the time when you can really explore. I think when I was in college, the maximum, I was involved in pretty much everything because I had no idea what I wanted to do. Utilize this time to learn about everything. So in case, so there could be two things that can happen. One, you'll pick up something that you really love doing, or you'll at least know exactly what you don't want to do. Once you figure that out, you'll be able to put all your attention into doing something that you love. And once you do spend enough time doing what you love, you might be able to create a business out of it. That's pretty much the secret sauce, I would say, to answer your question. And that's what we've been, doing, whether it was global esports or any other venture before that.
All right. Excellent answer, guys. Anish, you have some great piece of advice. I hope you'll follow that. So next question, this is asked by Abir Biswas. So he asks, when gaming becomes your day job, is it still equally fun as before, or does the routine become monotonous?
So it's this is a difficult question. So it depends whether you're looking at it from a management perspective or an esports athlete. When you're looking at it from an esports athlete perspective, yes, I do feel there is some sort of fatigue. But in that case, what I have seen, at least what our players have done, if they are a professional CSGO player, they don't play CSGO for recreation. That becomes their job, that becomes their focus, that becomes their career. Whenever they want to play something recreational, they'll play Rocket League, they'll play Dota 2, they'll play another game that's a lot more relaxing for them. It may be competitive for someone else, but for them, that becomes their casual game, that becomes their relaxation, and then they go back into CSGO. It does become difficult for an athlete to play the game that they're competing in casually or playing it for fun. On the management side of things, I think Mohit and Pari and anyone else would agree. I wish we had more time to play. I really feel that, I would love to enjoy playing a lot more. We don't get the time as much as we used to. We find it really funny कि because हमें इतना मजा आता था वीडियो गेम खेलने में, इसीलिए हमने ये शुरू किया. But that's probably the thing we do the least now that हमने शुरू कर दिया. I really wish we would get
No,
more
that
time.
is absolutely what happens, right? The more you talk about gaming, the more you work in gaming, the less you actually end up playing.
Actually, absolutely. Like Mohit and me are still waiting to take 1 week off so we can just play World of Warcraft Shadowlands. We've been talking about it for years now, and we're like, एक हफ्ता ना कुछ काम नहीं करेंगे, छुट्टी लेंगे, probably go somewhere, सिर्फ World of Warcraft खेलेंगे. That hasn't happened in 2 years.
Correct.
We've been wanting to
How
do
many
it.
years have you been talking about it? That's the more interesting question.
For World of Warcraft, about 10, 15 years now.
Well, see, what Rushi said is absolutely what I'm going through right now. When I was a player, I used to enjoy my 18 hours of gameplay every day. So, but then now when I'm into the management side, it's a totally different thing. I don't even get time to know what's the update of Dota 2, because Dota 2 you get an update every now and then. So I can't even keep track of that. But I still love to play the game, and sometimes my friends, they start complaining, man, ki you're out of touch, man. You're not even coming and saying hi in the game, because it's like you don't have an exact schedule, and you won't know what will happen next. That is the most exciting part, and that is the most tiring part of being a manager, or in the management. So you have to always be ready. So I think it all depends on your interest, man. If you love, you can't go in sick holy to be like practice only 5 hours a day, man. You're gonna get bored or something like that. He loves to practice. He'll play, I think, 20 hours a day as well, man. If he wins, I don't know what he does, but once he's into the management side, I don't think he would do the same thing. Playing 20 hours a day or 16 hours a day, and also managing. So it all becomes a balance later on.
Okay, you're absolutely right, Zed. We can't ask Saurav Ganguly if he still plays cricket.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure when he was at the peak of his career, when he had 2 hours recreationally, I'm pretty sure he was not doing it to play cricket. He was not playing cricket in his 2 free hours.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah, Mohit,
Yeah,
anything you
I think it all circles back to the earlier point that we were talking about, where it's the mindset. Let's say you're a player and you have this exact timetable slash routine set up for you. A person who would anyway go to a day job, say to a call center or any other thing, he would be going out of two things, right? One is out of necessity of getting that amount, and that's because you don't want to run your house or your expenses. The other thing is you actually love doing that job. So if you're someone who's having a day job as a gamer, who has a schedule fixed to follow a routine and become a professional esports player, then it's something that you will anyway end up learning because your mindset is focused on what your goal is. Yes, there are times that it seems a bit too much because the practice, routine can get a really, like time consuming and can get really intense sometimes. But that's what the nature of the work is, right? That's what a life of an esports athlete is. And talking about the management side, yes, it's even more harder on the management side because it's an ecosystem that you're creating of an industry that is yet to boom to its maximum potential. So definitely there will be days that you don't know कि क्या होने वाला है आज. 2 days you're like, oh my god, this is the best day of my life. But at the end of the day, you need to realize कि boss, it's all about the way you're thinking, right? कि ठीक है ये gaming के अंदर हो रहा है. All of this is happening in the world of video games. Something that I've loved and I'm able to make my dreams come true. So if you always look at it as an opportunity and not like कि यार मैं बैंक में जा रहा हूँ काम करने or I have to go with a suit and I have to sign some paperwork and ये सब ऐसे करना है. Of course, that if you approach it with that, it's going to feel it's a routine and वही चलते रह रहा है. But you have to keep it fresh. You have to keep it exciting. You have to remember the reason why you got into it for the first time and just follow that. बाकी कुछ matter नहीं करता है that even if you have 18 hours of work, which is your day job, you will love every second of it.
Great answer, Mohit. So basically, it's all in our head. It's a game of mindset and perspective.
Absolutely.
If you enjoy something, you'll enjoy it. So next, I have a question for you guys. So esports traditionally has been a male-dominated industry, and increasing female participation in esports presents a huge growth opportunity. Now, we've seen that female participation is increasing. Yesterday, we had a panel for female streamers. We had Ankita, Krutika, and Dani. So, do you guys have any strategies, initiatives planned to improve female participation in esports, which I believe presents a great growth opportunity?
Fantastic.
So there are sorry, Aditya, go ahead.
Sorry, Nishant, this is your question, right?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so we did do a lot of women-centric campaigns, and we had a lot of streamers as well as esports athletes, female esports athletes in our roster before. And in fact, even for Women's Day earlier this year, we did a lovely initiative, and we tied up with a lot of console PC as well as mobile female gamers and streamers, and we did this entire initiative around them. What we saw, with the trend that we have seen, a lot of female athletes, they are not very comfortable in the space because there's either eve teasing or there's someone calling them out, and it's just not a environment that they feel comfortable kind of being themselves. And then we have a lot of them that as esports athletes, they feel they may not go as far, and a lot of them very early on switch to content creation, where they get a lot better response, where by putting in not necessarily less effort, but with less resistance, they can grow their numbers faster, and it's at their own pace. They get the freedom of, being that entrepreneur to a certain extent when you're running your own channel, when you're a content creator. So a lot of female athletes are switching over to content creation. That's a trend that we have seen. We're trying to get more, more female gamers involved on the esports athlete side of things. But just the way the trend is going, we are seeing a lot of them, opting for content creation as a more lucrative and more comfortable career opportunity for them, because they're reliant on themselves and not the remaining four people or five people that would be in their team.
Okay.
It's
Mohit?
just a trend that we have seen personally.
Perfect. Mohit, would you have anything different from what?
Yeah, I think because the the whole ecosystem is, even though it's blowing up, it's still at a very nascent stage for people to accept that this is something that you can dedicate entirely to. Having the lack of information, apart from just being an esports athlete or being a part of a team, you can do so many other things which I think a lot of people out there don't know. So the kind of willingness to get involved totally is right now at a very early stage. I think with time, as esports is going to grow, and as the content creation, the entire facet of that is going to expand to more people and reach out. Slowly, a lot of these influencers are setting a benchmark which a lot of women can look up to and try to recreate in a very small way. I think that's the thing that we see. It's only going to take a little bit time, because yes, it did start with a lot of male centric audience and also the players, but it's going to eventually become a spectator sport, or a sport that is going to be enjoyed not just by not just the playing people but also the audience. Let's say any other sport, for example, right? Earlier, football, cricket, everything was more you could say in itself and in its own ecosystem, and then it exploded. And once it did explode, it didn't matter what gender you were, because from the kids to the adults, everyone was talking about it. And that's something that we see, where it shouldn't be there's an age constraint to it, or there's a gender constraint to it. It should be open. It should become that popular that people will care about and can actually see and associate with, like they would do for any other sport.
Yeah, I think one advantage that esports has over traditional sports. In traditional sports, a lot of people say that, oh, but men are more physically built, or this is physically intensive, which is why a lot of women are not getting into it. That's not the case with esports. They have, an absolute equal opportunity. It's just about providing them a safe environment, about educating them, also about ensuring that there's acceptance from the family. A lot of female gamers very early on face more resistance than their male counterparts. So that's something that we need to grow on building as an ecosystem and as a community.
No, but this is interesting. So what I really like from both of you, you're talking about this, right? I mean, how do we make them feel safe? But at the same time, how do we then tell the guys, correct, when they lose to a girl, don't go bully them. Correct, don't go tell them bullshit kind of stuff.
Exactly.
But what's very interesting I've seen, at least in the COD mobile scene, correct. So you have Erythrit, for example. She ranks right there in the top 10 players in the world at all times, which is such a long way if you look at it from how things have changed. Because you remember Overwatch League, there was one female player.
Yeah, Geguri, yeah.
And when they went into investigate and they found it was not even a female player to begin with, when the original rosters had come out,
Right.
it has become such a big controversy. So I'm glad that it's moving on from there, correct? But the fact is, I think the gap is still there for a while, but I think it might get eclipsed soon enough, right? Do you think we'll have men-women teams over a period of time? Do you think that would happen?
I think it's a matter of time, and I think that like I said, the restrictions or the limitations that are there in traditional sports don't necessarily apply to esports. It's like in a game of chess. It doesn't matter if you're a guy or a girl. If you can outthink your opponent, you can win the game.
Absolutely. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the entire wave and history repeat itself with tennis, for example, right? There have been so many things which caused a revolution, and even biopics were made on that thing, right? We've seen that come up in the recent past, and we see a similar trend going to be there, where it's going to just spark everything, and then it'll never be the same. So I think we just need to give it a little bit more time, make sure that we are creating the right atmosphere and the right environment. At the same time, educating and spreading out the right information so everyone has access to it and can think for themselves before they want to get into it. Because It's going to be a commitment that will take, you know, everyone to get involved on their own. It's going to be a kind of a revolution that needs to happen, but with time.
Absolutely. It will take its time, but we have to be willing to leave those spaces for them. That we need,
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah. So, Zed, what do you think, boss?
Man, I think it's the other way around. I guess. Sorry, don't take me wrong. I'm just like the girls that I know who are in the esport industry. All of them are pretty much successful. Like I know around a lot of people in Dota and irrespective of what game they play
Sure.
in general, they're not that famous. Of So yeah, I was saying the guys are not that famous as compared to the girls that have just joined. So let's just say out of 10 out of 8 girls are almost making a career out of esports till now. In fact, we ourselves have around three female content creators signed up for Techno Exo, and whereas guys, you can see a lot of people still thriving to be the best. But coming to the competitive part, I don't think there is a long time where we can expect of all female roster kicking ass of all professional teams. So we can expect that because we have already seen few female professional PUBG Mobile players like Sneepu. I know
Sure.
Sneepu, and I know a lot of other female PUBG Mobile players who can even beat any pro player any day.
Absolutely.
So that is my point. I would say that it's a lack of dedication or some sort of vision that female gamers have right now. They just want to play behind the screen right now. They don't want to go on content creation side or professional side. They don't want to go pro. So once we encourage this thing and they, start making right decisions, as I would say, right decision in the sense of, start picking up streaming, picking up the right form of content you're making, and keeping controversies out of this, keeping as much distance as possible from controversies. They would
Yeah.
thrive, and definitely female streamers. This is a big opportunity for whoever's watching right now. Please don't be demotivated by any of negativity around. Just pick up the mic, pick up the camera, just start streaming, vlogging, whatever you're gonna do, it's gonna be a hit. Just trust me in that.
Perfect. Solid.
Yeah.
There we go, boss. The huge level of optimism from Zed. But yes, of course, if you don't go with it,
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah,
I think it just as Maud said, it's about providing that platform and creating that safe environment. It's our responsibility to make it a better place. And there's a lot of female gamers that want to get actively involved in the scene. We need to just give them that opportunity and we need to provide that platform for them. And they will really do well.
perfect, guys. So let's do one more question. Will that be all right?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Please go ahead.
Nishant, boss.
Sure. Sure. So the next question, this is asked by Anti Venom. So he says that he wants to be a professional esports player, and what should he do to get selected in teams and get recognition? So what would be your advice to this guy?
I
So
would say
I
watch Rushita's video.
said I'll let you take this one first.
No. My only advice is watch Rushi's video that he recently posted on his social media. That covers up almost everything, and I don't think there's any bit that he left in that video. Please do watch his video.
So yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, we get this question most often. I think on an average, we were getting a couple of thousand emails every day. So I decided to just compile all that information, and then together we came up with this entire video of how to join any esports org, not just global esports, and just the entire structure that you would require to put everything in place and be part of the entire esports ecosystem. And that's there on my YouTube channel. That did really well. With just close to hitting about 300,000 views on that. I just shared that last week, and it's been really, really good. The response has been amazing.
So, Rush, you're also monetizing stuff now?
Not yet. So that video actually gave me made my channel eligible for monetization. I just started my channel, and it's mostly for just putting up content that people would want to see in the esports space. I wish I had more time and more content that I could post, but we're still working on that. It's something that's in process.
Perfect. Yeah. Mohit, anything you would like to add, boss, apart from what Rush does?
I think, firstly, you need to identify what game you need to, be an esports athlete in, and what you're exactly looking for. So before even thinking, yeah, okay, I want to get picked up by an esports organization, we were talking about the points which are earlier. Do you have the right mindset to live a life of a professional esports player? Do you think you're coachable enough? Do you think you have the right attitude when it comes to talking to people, when it when it's appearing on any camera, when it's being a part of any interview, how outgoing are you, how strictly do you follow a routine, how much time are you ready to dedicate to giving your career as an esports athlete a shot. All of those things need to be asked, and you need to really be like, "Okay, hai, you have XYZ things, the things that I mentioned right now, but why would anyone pick you? ऐसा क्या है आप में के which will be like a boss, you leave the rest of the people who are on the top of the leaderboard, that little spark, there should be something that should be like a boss, बाकी सब छोड़ दो, I need this one player on my team and then उसके basis पे I'll form a team चलेगा, but I need this. What is that unique thing that you bring to the table? I think that is something that you need to figure out as a professional athlete, because yes, you might be the best player. Yes, you might, be able to talk to people and do all of that. But something makes you stand out than the rest of the people, right? Try to work on that. Don't try to work like, with blinders के नहीं मेरे को खाली competitive खेलना है. थोड़ा content में भी ध्यान दो, थोड़ा, create some videos. Have a thing that people will be like, shit, ये player को तो सब जगह लेके जाना है. You should have that aura about you. I think that is something that, more than thinking like, would any esports org pick me as a player? You should be like, dude, like a player like this can be picked up by any esports organization. Flip the question around. And what would it take for you to have those values?
Oh, perfect. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Right.
and I think reeling back a little from what Mohit said, the biggest thing that at least what we have seen, a lot of people are in it for the wrong reasons. Everyone says that meko esports athlete banna hai, but do you know what an esports athlete does? What a day for an esports athlete is like? Like, why do you want to be an esports athlete? Is it because you think it's an easy way out? Like, meko padna nahi padega, meko job nahi karna padega, video game khelunga, paise kamaunga. If that's the reason, it's not going to work out for you. Right? You need to be able to live, breathe, and do this for the rest of your life. If you're doing it because you enjoy playing PUBG for 2 hours a day, don't. Because as another question came in earlier, you're not going to be playing 2 hours a day and enjoying PUBG. You're going to spend 16 hours a day strategizing and working. It's going to become grueling to the point where you no longer enjoy the game. Is that what you want to do? Do you want to work like, as Zed said? Well, for him it was very simple. He wanted to be the best. If that is your goal, because I promise you, it's a lot harder to become a top tier esports athlete than to get a job in any company or to become an engineer or take a 9 to 5 job. You'll probably get paid more doing that. If you're doing it for the money and the fame, don't, because it's going to be way harder than you think.
Let me add one more point here. What you just said is very same thing that I experienced. Again, I don't know, you're saying something about me. Uh, I am a mechanical engineer, okay, and I was having a job ready in my dad is from Saudi, so he works there, and he offered me a job in his own company that he was working for over there, and I had a very good salary package, everything. My life was full on set. If I just took that thing, that would be something I would do if I were a 9 to 5 person or 9 to 6 person. So, but no, I wanted to choose a life where I would find self satisfaction and in the starting 3 years of my esports career, I didn't even earn a single penny. Instead, I spent more money just traveling to this tournament, surviving, and just making myself a better player. I bought equipments that costed that time of 15,000 rupees, and I was just a small teenager, man. I don't know how I earned 15,000. I've never earned anything. So I couldn't even pressurize my parents to buy me a keyboard. They'll be like, if I'm getting a 200 rupees keyboard, why do you need a 1,500 rupees keyboard? Are there any special keys in that? They can't understand that. So I had to do it for my own winnings. So I won like around 12 tournaments just to support my keyboard, mouse, mousepad. So this was something I went through, and I never asked any organization or anyone. Actually, there were no organization. Even if there would be, I never went and asked them to sponsor me. I got better at the game. And all the other people that were there with me, they were always focusing on getting better. They never thought of becoming profitable. They wanted to earn something. When we were successful, Neerav Rukhana from Mumbai, the owner of NDT Sports, he called me up one day and he's like, bro, Mumbai aaja, mere ko team banana hai. I went to Mumbai. He was a complete stranger to me. I just went there. One day, he's like, bro, mere ko team banana hai. I'll pay you everything. That was the first day. I was like, okay, I'm earning something. That was the first salary that I earned from entity, man. That's the history. So you can't just expect life to be a Cinderella story for you. I know you. If you are a very good player, definitely just prove it in the tournament. Just participate in all these tournaments. If you are say winning a lot of local events, a team of mediocre players would definitely be interested in you. They will take you up. Then you try your way to become a professional player. So that's the way it is. You can't just expect to join global esports or entity esports just like that.
Oh, yeah, it's a long journey, right? It's just like, yeah,
Absolutely.
you can't go out and say, I want to play for Manchester United tomorrow. It takes all the time it takes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, I'm saying that very nicely, omitting my team because we're not doing very well. But yeah, perfect. There we go, guys. So thank you so much for all the insight, guys. Fantastic and brilliant, right? So I guess this is where the revolution starts, right? One event at a time, one panel at a time. So thank you for taking the time out, and it was a pleasure talking to you guys, getting to know what you're doing, Zed, what global esports has planned for the nation. How do you think the trajectory will be in the next 10 years? Correct. And let's be honest, guys, the more it changes, the more it becomes vibrant for all of us, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, all of you benefit. You have better players to manage, more games to play. I get more stuff to write about, and yeah, all of that, right? So we all benefit from it. So this is perfect,
Yeah.
guys. And thank you so much, guys. Thank you for taking the time out. Thank you, viewers, for taking the time out listening to us talking about games because absolutely, right, we love doing that, right? So
Yeah.
perfect. So anything
Thank you
you
for
guys,
having us over. Really appreciate it.
yeah, anything you guys would like to say? One sentence each to say goodbye or stuff.
So I think one very important closing mark is that a lot of people talk about the first mover advantage. What people don't realize is that there's also the first mover disadvantage because what we've had to do very early on is because a lot of times there's no roadmap to follow. There's no leading by we have to lead by example. A lot of things that we're doing in esports have never been done before. We're really having to figure it out ourselves. It makes it easier for the next guy to come along because they can learn from our mistakes, but we have to make those mistakes for people to learn. So we are kind of paving the road for the future generations, and that's a lot of fun because every morning we get up and we're doing things that we've never done before. I mean, honestly, I left my medical career to do this. I would have been so much more comfortable being a doctor and practicing and probably having a 9 to 5, going to the hospital and then coming back. But I'm spending 20 hours a day sitting and figuring it out. Shit, abhi aur kya kar sakte hain esports mein? What next? What else can we innovate? What else can we achieve? It's just waking up to that. That's what excites me. So if you want to get into esports, that's what you need to feel. You need to be able to give up everything else just to focus on this because you are the one who's going to be leading the next generation forward.
Perfect. Yeah, Mohit, what about you, guys?
Yeah, I think saying that there's still of course there's a disadvantage, but I think there's so much of hope because yeah, today Zed is sitting with us, who's such a renowned Dota player. We used to play Warcraft, जब Dota था भी नहीं. It was a time before esports was in the dictionary pretty much. It used to be competitive video games. And seeing the industry from that Warcraft to creating this Dota game, which Dota became the most popular and international, and all of that, yeah, honestly, I'm telling you, there's been a major growth for this industry. And trust me, even today, it feels like hey, abhi khali shuru hai. It's not even reached, where it is trajectory is going to be. It's growing pretty much every day, and we want to be part of it. Like Rishi was saying, the best part about it is that we need to kind of get up every day, think of a new idea, execute it, and we've left everything that we're doing to go full time into it. I'm a filmmaker by profession, and I've pretty much left everything to just focus on making video games the future. When we were young, there were not too many opportunities that existed. Education also. Now you can study to become so many things in the esports industry, right? Earlier you could even study to be a game designer, and that's something that I wanted to do personally. So I think on that note, I would like to just leave everyone with this. Right now everyone has that access to information, whether it's on the internet, whether it's on any of our YouTube channels, whether it's pretty much any resource that you can find, or it's in the colleges. Go out there, get access to that information, और जो आपको लग रहा है करने का आपको esports industry में, make sure you do that because ये opportunity किसी के पास नहीं थी, and you should consider yourself very lucky because this is the hope, and you by taking a little action can cause a change for the entire ecosystem. So go out there and do it, guys.
Yeah, I'm going to add one more thing. Sorry, in case you haven't realized, I really do like talking a lot. I know we've been closing for the last 20 minutes.
We had
Uh,
him noticed, boss. We had him noticed.
so one additional thing is, from right now where we are today, we played our first LAN tournament 20 years ago. It took us 20 years from playing our first LAN tournament to where we are today. Everything we've learned, the mistakes we've done, the failures we've had, the success. So when a player comes up to us and says, "हम लोग 6 महीने से PUBG Mobile खेल रहे हैं, we're the best player, हमें ले लो, हमें क्यों opportunity नहीं दे रहे?" We're like, bro, 6 महीने सिर्फ तेरे हुए, like 6 months is nothing. It's taken us 20 years to get to this point. Like you're probably not even 20 years old, and you're coming to us and asking for an opportunity. Like we don't want to deny anyone that opportunity, but it's not that easy. It takes a lot of hard work, and you need to be able to willing to put that hard work in.
Perfect. Zed, what about you, boss?
Well, if you're focusing on being the best, I think organizations will find you. You don't have to find an organization, man. Just prove that on the tournament side, people will come to you. In fact, I myself scout a lot of players. So if whoever's looking for a esports career, just focus on yourself instead of don't start blaming we have for this so and so organization, we don't have access to these people, we are not so famous, we are not mortal, we are not dynamo. Just be like, okay, I want to do something new, man. There are a lot of new creators getting 100K new subscribers each day. I see them myself, man. So you can't be like nahi, make opportunity nahi mila. You have to make your own opportunity. So
Yep.
apart from this, I think gaming, I can keep on talking about gaming, but yeah, if you're good at it, just do it. If you're not good at it, please find something else. There's always something you're good at, man. So
Perfect. So there we go, guys. All three of us basically telling all of you out there while watching us and listening to us, the gamers of tomorrow. We need you to play. We need you to play seriously because the next community, the next generation depends on it. Correct?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, right? So things have never been more important. Hashtag no pressure. Okay, there you go. Okay.
You
So
only have the future of the esports resting on your shoulders. Don't worry.
nothing too much, right? Not like it's been 20, 25 years we've been playing games. Not like there's no pressure on you guys. So, absolutely. So, there you go. Perfect, guys. So, we can wind this up. Thank you again. And it was an absolute pleasure, guys. Thank you for taking the time out on a Saturday evening to talk to us.
Thank you so much for
Really
having us.
appreciate it.
Thanks to the entire team and hope whoever was watching, hope you guys enjoyed. We are here for the community. Let's cause the change together.
Perfect. So, would you like to stay for for a minute or two after the thing?
Sure.
Perfect. Thank you. So, what else otherwise? Where do you think the road is ahead from here?
Ain't no love like a real love, but it goes so fast. All tied up like a captive. I'm to you. Used to pit on my life, standing on rainbows, playing it cool. I don't felt this in ages, and I've no more patience. So won't you please stay or be alive?
rest. Now I've learned to never help you out, 'cause I'm done cleaning up your mess. Found myself in my regrets. I've become a little stronger now. 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 You cashed in on my promises. You know I'm too generous. Now I've learned to never help you out, 'cause I'm done cleaning up your mess. Found myself in my regrets. I've become a little stronger now. A little stronger now. Casting on my promises. You know I'm too generous. Now I've learned to never help you out, 'cause I'm done cleaning up your mess. Found myself in my regrets. I've become a little stronger now. A little stronger now.
Open eye, feel the waves cut through me. Hypnotized by the sounds I'm breathing in. Hold tight, chemicals collide. Hold tight, hold tight, hold tight. Dripping lights paint the skies, all because of you. Dripping lights paint the skies, only you can make me move. Can make me move. Can make me
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. second alone. I feel the rain crashing down all around this empty town. I'm searching for the lost and found, but you don't care, you're unaware. Keep moving like the scars aren't even there. It's in the air like a blazing flare. Don't stare 'cause the flames will burn us. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. I used to kiss your head when you cried for me. Hold your hand while the pain was over. Keep you warm by the roaring sea. You meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. My darling dear, you're never here. When I'm in pain, you hide and disappear. Like shadows in the atmosphere, charting the stratosphere. Yeah. I prayed for you and kept you near in hopes you'd chase away my fears. I'm on my own, you made it so, and now I'm chasing nightmares too. I used to run with you through the great big leaves, laugh at you when you laugh at me. Hope for us because I believe the home was just you and me. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me.
Do you remember how you held me then? Now you got me reaching out. And do you see you got me falling in more times than I can get out. Down in the deep of my mind, I cry for you and you're always inside. Down in the deep of my mind, how long do I got to keep you, to keep you? Down in the deep of my mind, I cry for you and you're always inside. Down in the deep of my mind, trying so hard not to keep you, to keep you. Oh, you make me wanna talk back to you. Say it like that. If I hate you, then find some